So that wraps up the Canelo Charlo press tour. Two-city. Yesterday was in New York. Today they're in L.A. Watch the fighters face off. September the 30th, $84.99 on Showtime pay-per-view. Undercard so far is going to feature Erickson Lubin versus Jesus Ramos. Frank Sanchez versus Chris Arreola. And we're waiting for a confirmation for the 4-fight pay-per-view card. One more fight's missing. Canelo signed a 3-fight deal with PBC.
There you have it. Undisputed versus Undisputed. Charlo, Canelo, Showtime pay-per-view, September 30th. The Undisputed Super Middleweight title will be on the line.
So as I was saying, Canelo's signed a 3-fight deal with PBC. Those 3 fights right now could look like, this is if he wins, of course, Jermell Charlo, possibly David Benavidez. Spence could have been in the mix.
Never in the 4-belt era have 2 undisputed champions faced each other from different weight divisions. But it will happen on September 30th, live on Showtime pay-per-view, Canelo versus Charlo.
Spence could also be in that 3-fight deal, but he would have to beat Crawford. For some reason, I feel that Canelo is not going to fight David Benavidez. And as far as the Dimitri Bivol fight rematch, I don't think we'll ever see that again. Canelo's blaming Bivol.
True, the sports pound for pound.
Charlo is, no matter how big the clothes are that Charlo's wearing like he wore yesterday and today, he's not fooling anyone. He's bigger than Canelo right now. And when I first heard about this fight, I was like, you know, they was like, yeah.
Thank you, L.A. We will see you September 30th from Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena on Showtime pay-per-view.
You know, the fact that this fight was in at 168 didn't really mean much to me because, as I said earlier, I don't consider Canelo to be a natural 168-pounder, in my opinion. I believe he's, you know, a 160er. Definitely had no business at 175, but God bless him. I'm glad he tried. He tried to fight Badou Jack at 185 for a 200-pound title. I thought that was some bullshit. Then tried to put a rehydration clause in. It's like, that's some bullshit. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jermell Charlo wins this fight, if I'm being perfectly honest. I can see it. You know, let's go look at the resumes because yesterday they wouldn't get a chance to do it. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about Miss Alicia Baumgartner. Like, that shit's wild. I like Erickson Lubin versus Jesus Ramos, though. And shout out to Erickson Lubin for taking the fights that are being offered to him and, you know, like tough fights, too, at that. And Chris Arreola versus Frank Sanchez. I don't want to see my boy Chris Arreola get beat up like that. You know, special place in my heart. But yeah. My concern about Jermell Charlo was the layoffs. So Canelo, 59-2-2 with 39 KOs. He's 33 years old. Last fight was this May against Jesus. I forgot that fight was even, that's how pointless that fight against John Ryder was, and I covered it. He fought John Ryder in May, went the distance with him, looked a little older, did look a little slower. It was his first fight back in Mexico where he actually headlined in the stadium. The Golovkin rematch just was a stinker. You know, like, you know, he won. I don't even remember the cards being that close, 8-4, you know, 7-5, but hey, I had it more like 10-2 if I remember correctly. The Dimitri Bivol fight in which he lost. Caleb Plant. So he's been on a streak of some tough fights. Billy Joe Saunders, Avni Yildirim, ill. Colin Smith beat up his arms. punched Sergey Kovalev, the woman beater, in his vodka belly. Did I ever tell you the time I almost had to fuck him up? Sergey Kovalev, not even joking. I was going, listen, you see, he ain't seen nobody like TstreeT. He tried to grab my camera. I think he was hungover or something from vodka. This was at the Andre Ward press conference in New York in a beautiful building overlooking Central Park. So I didn't know that the flash on my camera was on. So he just was, he went like, he was like, let's get to the light. And I was like, and I pulled back like, yo, don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't touch my equipment. You know, if you want to get on TstreeT bad side, start fucking with my gadgets. Don't fuck around with my gadgets. So anyway, I was, you know, just decided to tell you guys that story. But anyway, moving on. Danny Jacobs, Rocky Fielding. This is when he was testing the waters at 168 pounds. You know, my concern at that time was, you know, seeing how he looked at the weight. But active fighter, he's got a lot of wear and tear too. A lot of wear and tear. He's had a wrist injury, 2 knee injuries, right? And then wasn't it an elbow or shoulder? Now, Charlo, my concern about Charlo was, look at his resume, is the inactivity. The inactivity, and also he's coming off of a hand injury as well. 35, 1-1, 19 KOs. How old is Jermell Charlo now? He's like 32, right? Let me check. Give me a minute. 33. He turned 33 in May. Last fight was last May against Brian Castaño in a rematch, one of the fights of the year. The last fight before that was in July of 2021 against Brian Castaño. So one fight in 2020, Jason Rosario on that Charlo doubleheader on pay-per-view. He punched Jason Rosario in the fucking stomach, had him convulsing. Remember that? Like he was on the, like, looking like he was going to throw up. You don't remember that? I'm going to show it. Let me pull the clip up. That was wild. And Derek James was looking like, damn, like, I think you're about to throw up. I'm glad he's okay, but oh man. Let me see if I can find that clip for you real quick. Like he was down there fucked up. They got it on the Twitter. Like he was dry heaving.
And in stunning fact, Charlo 18th out of the law.
Says.
Oh, down goes Rosario.
Look, oh, you can't see it. You got to see it in slow motion.
And down goes Rosario from a jab to the body, and he's in trouble.
See how lucky he was about to throw up? But yeah, that was from a jab to the body. But anyway, going back. He's been inactive. You know, that's my concern. And Brian Castaño, you know, mind you, Brian Castaño is about 5'7". He's a more active, how can I say, he has a similar style to Canelo, kind of, except he throws more punches. Jason Rosario was never really too high on him, especially when you look at how J-Rock Williams' career has been going. So it makes you question that J-Rock Rosario win. It's like, well, damn, you know, was that really such a big win for him? The Tony Harrison rematch, he looked good there. But he's never, obviously, fought, you know, someone like Canelo. Or Canelo. There you go. Just trying to learn to say things in my more native Hispanic tongue. You know, trying to make sure I learn the correct pronunciation. Canelo. Vamos, Canelo! I'm getting there, though. Still a ways to go. But the fight being at 168 doesn't mean anything to me. I wouldn't be surprised if Charlo weighs in at 154 and comes into the ring at closer to 170. You know, probably even bigger than that, for real, for real. He kind of hinted at it yesterday that you know, he weighs in at 154. And then remember, Showtime don't ever show the unofficial weights, like ever. So the size is not a problem to me, but also Derek James said he's going to have him weigh in around like 164, so he's not going to come in at the full 168 pounds. And there's also the that other big money fight out there with Terrence Crawford, Which, if you think about it, depending on how the fight looks against Canelo, is it just that we're so hyped for it right now because we're so soon off of the Spence fight? And how will the fight with Terrence Crawford and Terrence Crawford and Jermell Charlo look if Jermell Charlo goes in there and gets demolished by Canelo in a boring fight, either gets knocked out brutally or demolished, straight dominated? That's definitely going to affect the marketing of the Terrence Crawford fight. You know, so I just think, you know, I mean, in a perfect world, I wished, you know, that the Canelo deal didn't happen just yet, because then we would have had a realistic chance of possibly seeing Terrence Crawford versus Jermell Charlo for Undisputed sometime around this time next year or so, because you got Tim Tszyu WBO mandatory. But me and Big J will talk about that later. By the way, Tim Tszyu may be fighting Brian Mendoza, WBC interim champion, the one who got the upset over Sebastian Fundora.